doing something completely different tonight. It's a totally different kind of podcast episode. It's just Alema, Pilimai, and myself sitting down on a Sunday afternoon, just talking football, talking NIL, talking about whatever. Who knows?
Yeah,
And,
we'll see where the conversation takes us.
Exactly, dude. Like there's no script, there's no list of topping points, nothing like that. So cool. So Alema, dude, tell me. I want to know all about you. I want to hear about high school. I want to hear about everything, and then you can reciprocate. Ask anything you want to know about me, and then kind of your getting to BYU, your whole experience there, and we'll just start rolling this ball and talking about this.
Sure. So starting off in high school, I went to Tustin High. It's a school that's really rich in like football history. At one point, I think I'd mentioned this to you, we had some of the most active NFL players in the league that were all Tustin graduates.
Wow.
So very rich in professional football history. The coach there, Coach Myron Miller, was the Orange County Coach of the Year when he had won CIF with his little squad and his wing T offense, Yeah. So that's kind of the history there.
And CIF is California. What's the I?
Oh gosh,
something football conference, but it's basically the UHSSA of California.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. It's that organization that oversees all of the games there. So my freshman year, I actually attended. Huge backstory. I was going to be held back. In 8th grade. Was originally going to be held back. My dad had seen how that had played out for a lot of players, where you get held back your 8th grade year, you go into your freshman year already ahead of most players development wise. Both maturity and also just physically, like you're just, you're ready to play. So he wanted to hold me back. I actually didn't enroll into my freshman year of school until I want to say like maybe a month into the school year.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, kind of a crazy story.
So you ended up not getting held back.
Back. Yeah. And I attended a school called Beckman High School. Wanted to go because all my friends were there. I mean, one thing about getting held back that I had seen is that it kind of affects I don't want to say the mental health, but maybe the social assimilation ability that kids have,
Absolutely.
Being held back, going to school at home, having your parent be your teacher almost, so for me, I wanted to be able to socialize. That was an important aspect for me. And I also felt like, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter what I do. I know I can play at a high level. I know I can get recruited. So I went to Beckman High, had a decent freshman year. My sophomore year, the varsity quarterback got hurt, broke his fibula off of a crazy play where he got sacked and then the defensive end kind of landed on his leg funny.
Ooh.
Really, really, really bad break. He was out the entire year. It was his senior year. And then I had to take over and be the starting quarterback for the varsity team at my sophomore year. Did the best I could. I was playing quarterback at the time, and that was only my second year playing quarterback ever.
Yeah.
Like freshman year was my first year playing quarterback. Sophomore year was my second.
I actually had no idea you played quarterback.
I did.
Okay,
yeah.
this the plot thickens, okay?
The plot thickens, yeah. So I played quarterback. I didn't have the strongest arm. I was athletic at least, so I could scramble. But after my sophomore year, I think my dad kind of saw that I didn't have the tools at my disposal. The Beckman High wasn't like a highly sought after school for college recruiters. So then we took a look at an in-town rival, Tustin High. We had actually played them while I was at Beckman, and I scored my first touchdown against them. And we beat them like 44-7. They were horrible, like just a horrible team. The program was in a building phase because the original coach, Coach Gano or something like that, they went 1-9 that year that they had played us. And so they had hired a new coach. They wanted to rebuild. And so part of the rebuilding process was finding a quarterback, obviously, that they could build their offense around. And so they, approached my dad, or I think my dad approached them, and they were like, hey, this might be a good spot to have me come. So after mid-year, after the football season, I'd literally transferred my sophomore year to Tustin, began starting training with them, kind of learned more about like the rich history that Tustin had with football, was a completely different like setting and background compared to Beckman. Beckman was very much, how do you say this? upper tax bracket.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Upper
No,
tax bracket.
yeah.
They had a lot of resources, but they just misused it in their
Mhm.
athletic department. Whereas Tustin was very gritty, very much minority dominated.
Mhm.
And so that was like kind of a wake up call for me, because these guys, all of them were athletes.
Oh yeah.
All these guys are athletes. All of them are crazy good at football. It was just a matter of getting them to, join this cohesive unit, buy into the program, and then hopefully they got recruited and went elsewhere,
Mhm.
So I played my junior year there. I had a really good year. After my junior year, I submitted my film to a few schools. I had met with Coach Kalani at a Utah camp that they threw. I want to say it was at Long Beach Community College or something like that. And it was strictly the Utah camp. They just had Utah there. And Kalani had liked what he saw. I was playing quarterback at the time, but he's like, dude, tall, slender, athletic. He's like, linebacker. Linebacker. So that was my first encounter with him. And there was no offers yet, but there was at least some interest.
Mhm.
And then they had a few visits, coming to the school. I got offered from Kalani when he had actually switched over to
Oregon State.
Oregon State.
Okay.
Exactly. They took a look at my junior year film and they're like, oh yeah, this is definitely, something that we can work with. I played my ass off. I got to say.
Yeah. And this is the whole time in the wing T.
So we actually switched over to a spread offense.
Oh, you were on spread.
Yeah, we switched to a spread offense.
So your arm wasn't as bad as you're saying.
It was, it was all right.
Yeah.
It was getting better. My junior year, I definitely got better. My arm got stronger. Obviously, physically, I developed, so I was able to
And more time in that position as well.
learning the position, learning defenses. Obviously, I still wasn't great. I couldn't tell you the difference between cover 2 and cover 3. I just knew that the corner's playing up. Okay, I know
There's room there.
There's room there. Or
Yeah.
he's playing back. Okay, I'm throwing the 5-yard out. So very basic understanding of football at that time. And so I got my first offer from Oregon State through Coach Kalani. Coach Gary Anderson called me and also congratulated me on getting my offer. Shortly after, you already know, BYU followed. Coach Mendenhall and I think Coach Howell was the main recruiter at the time. K-pop came out to come visit with me, and they were super interested. It's kind of one of those things where, like, when a school recruits an LDS kid and it's not BYU follows shortly after, because they know that, hey, we should have a monopoly on these LDS kids.
Especially with P5 offers.
Especially with P5 offers.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And schools that aren't, at the time, Oregon State wasn't great.
Yeah. So here's an opportunity to beat them out.
Exactly.
Gary Anderson was going there to do a rebuild. That was the whole mission there. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. So then after BYU had offered, I want to say Utah State had offered, and it was actually Coach Clune.
Okay.
Coach Clune, who was at Utah State at that time, came out to a game, liked what he saw. They offered me. And then after Utah State, Washington State came out. It's Coach Grinch and Coach, oh gosh.
Was it Leach at the time?
It was.
He was the head coach at that time.
I don't think it was Coach Leach at the
They
time.
hadn't got him yet. Okay.
I don't think they had him yet. But it was Coach Grinch, who was the defensive coordinator, and then the defensive line coach, Coach Saliava, I think, or I want to say he's at USC now, coaching the D line. But they had recruited me to Washington State. Then after Washington State, I was still interested in Utah. I was like, Utah was kind of my dream school, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that defense and their rich history with like just tough defense,
Dude, yeah. And they've done it consistently.
Consistently.
They might have a bad year on, special teams pretty good too, but maybe on offense, sometimes on special teams, but it doesn't matter, dude. That defense is always stout and can hit and play.
Whittingham found a way to win games.
Yeah.
He's a great defensive mind. I think that, also with Coach Kalani, who was there, Coach Hill, who used to be there, he cultivated a very like gritty defense, and so that was
the whole team culture seems to be built around that too.
Yes.
Like
Offense feeds off the defense. Their offense fed off the defense, definitely. So after Coach Kalani had left to Oregon State, I was still interested in Utah.
Yeah.
And actually Coach Enna, who had taken over for the linebackers there, he had expressed some interest in me. So after my junior season in the summer, I went to a bunch of camps. Coach Enna was there. Which one is it? The Polynesian camp that they have.
Poly
all
Bowl?
poly.
All poly.
They had all poly. And at that time, the coaches could attend and actually participate with the players. They took that away for some reason. I don't know why, but maybe it's because it's considered tampering. I don't know what.
Everything's tampering now.
Everything's tampering now,
I don't
right?
know I don't know if you've been paying attention. Everything's tampering. Even things that are legally allowed by the NCAA, they're also tampering.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah, so they took that away. The NCAA did, and Coach Anna had seen me at the camps. I busted my ass. I was someone who, the coach told me what to do, and I just did it.
Yes.
Put my head down and just ran through a wall as hard as I could. So after that camp, Coach Enev was like, hey, you showed me what you could do. I know Coach Kalani and Coach Roderick already told me like what a gifted athlete you are, but we'll officially offer you. They offered me. You were committed.
You were ready.
I was ready.
It was your number one school, man. You were
my
ready
number one
to go.
school.
Yeah,
my number one school. And then on top of that, I was getting into senior season, and you hear the stories about kids who get injured and they get their offers pulled because they tore their ACL or something like that, season-ending, career-ending,
career-altering for sure, possibly ending. Yeah,
exactly right. So got offered from Utah, immediately jumped on that, committed to them verbally. I had planned to take some visits anyways. I ended up only taking my visit to BYU and to Utah shortly after. Went on my visit to BYU. I mean, I fell in love with just with the overall culture. And I mean, for me, like my faith was a really strong factor that played into my commitment to BYU. And I just saw and Keanu Tonavas will tell you this, like the integration of like the professional side, the athletic side with the spiritual and faithful side, so that it was an easy integration there. So I just felt like BYU was kind of home. And on top of that, Kalani is a great recruiter as well.
Yeah.
He had, Coach Detmer at the time and Coach Lamb and Coach Tuyaki, all those guys who were his boys. And so I was like, man, I could see myself going here. Went on my visit to Utah and did not feel the same. They took me to a party, and I mean, I wasn't a huge partier already.
Right.
But it was just a different environment. One of my former teammates in high school, actually, CLC Mariner.
Oh yeah.
He was playing at Utah at the time. I wanted him to be my host because that was my boy,
Yeah.
But I think they had someone else like Chase Hansen or something like that. Which nothing against Chase. Chase is a great guy. But I just didn't feel that draw to Utah, and so. During my
Chase dropped the ball.
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, during my exit interview with Coach Whittingham, I told him, hey, I wanted some time to like really pray and think it over. Even though I was verbally committed to them, I wasn't, there were some things I just wasn't sure about, And Coach Whittingham told me, maybe you should just go to BYU.
Whoa.
I was like, oh, well, I'm an 18-year-old kid at this time,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, Coach, I mean, I was still like, no, you should probably go with them. Okay, thanks, Coach. Stood up, shook his hand, walked out with my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad's sitting right next to me, fuming because he's like, how dare you do that to an 18-year-old kid who's just trying to figure life out.
Trying to make the right choice for himself. Oh, dude, that's intense.
That was my first exposure to the reality of the rivalry.
And now you're very well acquainted.
Very well acquainted at that point. Yeah, so committed to BYU, signed with them, and the rest is history after that.
Okay, dude, that's actually a super interesting story. I think, Coach Whittingham, Coach Kalani, everybody, I mean, they played in this rivalry. They coached in this rivalry. They can't go to church without this rivalry happening. They probably can't go to the grocery store. They probably can't talk to a waiter at a restaurant without the rivalry. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly
so it's
right.
like, man, it's so real for those guys. And, when you're in that recruiting process, you're doing that. It's like they don't get a break from it. Like a lot of people, it's like, a few weeks before or maybe in season, there's some chatter. Like those guys, it's like all year round.
Yeah, 24/7, all year, 365 days a year.
Yeah. Okay, so then you get to BYU, and you end up being a tight end, but that's not the only position you played in college, right?
No.
So let's talk to me about that experience. You're at BYU, and they know you're a supreme athlete. You've played quarterback. They want you to play linebacker. And then you end up as a tight end. Like, tell me kind of that whole journey.
So I was originally recruited as a linebacker.
Okay.
I'd played quarterback, and actually I loved quarterback.
Quarterback's fun.
Yeah, quarterback is fun. Getting the ball in your hand every down, and you're a constant contributor, to the success of the team. But I got recruited as a linebacker. They saw the athleticism. They thought, okay, typical BYU thing, right? Like, let's just build him into this player that we want, even though he has no experience in the position. We can at least, like, we have a building block that we can start off with,
Right.
So they were like, oh, like an Alani Fua, like a Kyle Van Noy kind. I'm like, okay, those guys are in the league, by the way.
Sign me up.
I don't know. Those guys are in the league, by the way. I played linebacker for a little bit, and for me, again, basic knowledge of football. I didn't understand coverages. I didn't understand like zones. I didn't understand reading an offense from the other side. So got lost in coverage a lot. And I'm a freshman too. I'm an 18-year-old kid playing with these 22, 23-year-old
BYU, yeah.
older guys, right? And because I hadn't gone to my mission yet. That's another detail I should probably include. Wanted to play with my boy Keenan, wanted to play with my other guys who were in my recruiting class who stayed. Got switched over to D-line. I was playing defensive end, and they had me doing the one-on-one drills with the offensive tackles. I'm like, yeah, right. 210 pounds, soaking wet, right?
They get nose to nose, it's over.
Exactly.
You get hands on, it's like
it's over.
Yeah, there's no bull rushing in that scenario.
No bull rushing.
210 against 300, it's like not much of a. Yeah, I get you.
And pass rushing is a very technical. Because, I mean, there is a level of strength and, like, ferocity you have to have as a pass rusher, but it's also very technical. And for me, just, playing quarterback for 4 years in high school, played a little bit of DN, a little bit of linebacker as well. I mean, I had no understanding of, like, what moves to do,
what to do with your hands, your pad level, when you dip a shoulder. Dude, it is way technical. I coached O-line for a long, long time, and I think everyone thinks quarterback is super technical and safety in this. I'm telling you, in the trenches, it's way more technical than you can imagine if you've never played it or coached it.
Exactly right. No, and that's how I felt as a freshly graduated high school kid. Freshman at BYU, a very prestigious school with some very good players. I just I'm way out of my league. So they switched me over to tight end because they're like, okay, the kid's an athlete. Let's just try and find a way to get him onto the field.
Which is a compliment to you.
I guess.
No, it is. It is, because if you think about it, tight end is probably the most freaky athlete on the offensive side. And you could talk about just flat out speed as a receiver or different things, but like you're 100% involved in the pass protection. You're 100% involved in the run game. You're 100% involved in the passing scheme. Like, you're a target there. You have to know the routes. Like, you have to know as much as the quarterback does. You more than the O-line does, because you have to know everything they do plus what the receivers do. Right. Like, it's people don't know. So it's a compliment to you and your intelligence and your athleticism to say, hey, this kid could play tight end, in my opinion.
I appreciate it. No, I appreciate it. And I don't think I realized it at the time. I just felt like they were like trying to figure out what to do with me,
Yeah.
But I fell in love with the position. I loved tight end. I loved, running routes. I also loved that I was able to not be like a sole blocker, but like, we have the tackle tight end combos. And I can do this all day, man. Then it came to the solo
crush
block.
Blocks,
yeah, the crush blocks.
Sliding down and then you're one-on-one with that guy.
With the defense, with these All-American DNs that I'm playing against. Oh, man. One of the games I played against an All-American DN against UCLA that year.
Okay.
And we lost 17-14, I think.
This is Tanner Mangum year? No.
This was Taysom still.
Okay, this was Taysom
Yeah,
still.
2016. Okay. Taysom was still playing. Yeah. This was before his injury against Utah State. And, we had come so close to winning that game. That entire year, we lost. Every game that we lost was like a combination of like 7 points, I think.
Yeah. You lost, I can't remember how many games it was. You lost
four
games by 7 points or less or something like that. It was, I remember, dude.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
We had a great squad that year. I mean, obviously, Taysom Hill was there.
Jamal was there too.
Jamal
right?
Williams was there. Fred Warner was there. Sione Takitaki. Sione, I think, was not playing that year. He had obviously some trouble, and so they had to hold him out. Sai Tautu was there. Who else was there? The receiver, Nick.
Oh, Kurtz.
Nick Kurtz was there.
Very good wide receiver.
Yeah, very good receiver. Alema Hifo was there. So we had a really good squad, and we I mean, they played balls to the walls, against some really good teams.
And that's Kalani's first year too. And I think that gave everybody a lot of excitement around Kalani. And he had a group of veteran guys, like a lot of these guys you're naming are vets. And following that, it was obviously time to like reload and rebuild. But you saw right out the gates, hey, this guy can coach a football team to be very, very successful, very, very competitive when he's got experienced guys in there, which was cool. It was a cool season still. Like, I mean, it's a heartbreaker in some ways, but honestly, even that West Virginia game, we could go down the list. God, bro, that West Virginia game, I was like going crazy and then like, no, anyway. But like that whole season was kind of like that West Virginia game, I feel like. But it showed us all what Kalani could do as a head coach, which was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't, with the athletes that he had at his disposal, he didn't lose any games that like, that we weren't supposed to lose, know. There were some close ones, obviously. I mean, that Toledo game. I mean, they still had, was it Kareem Hunt? I forget who the running back was for Toledo, but I mean, they chopped us up on defense.
It was good. Good thing we had Jamal go for, I don't even know what he rushed for that night.
Like 5 touchdowns.
5 touchdowns, right? And over 200 something yards. I don't know. Like that was a wild game too.
A wild game. And
we went right up to Trinnaman, wasn't it? On the very first play. It was like
Jonah, yes.
I think they had him backside of trips, and they knew he was going to
fade.
Yeah, they knew exactly what look they were going to get, and they were like, first play of the game, which ended up being pretty important 7 points, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, had we not gotten that, it would have been an L for us.
Yeah.
So that year played a little bit. I didn't have a single pass thrown my way that year, despite playing several games. Also, because I played, I think, more than 4 games, that took
a year. Eligibility, man.
A year of eligibility, yeah. And so I had a really tough time that freshman year because I had a lot of stuff going on socially where didn't have a whole lot of friends. School was so tough. I mean, my grades were hanging on by a thread.
Are we in dorms or we're in the dorms? That makes it even tougher, I feel like. If you're in the house with the guys or you're in the apartment with the guys, you kind of have an instant thing. If you're in the dorms, it's a lot tougher.
A lot tougher, definitely. And so that year, I wasn't going to serve a mission originally because I wanted to stay. I wanted to really just like invest in
football.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to stay. I wanted to take this route that a lot of these other guys had taken in staying and playing. Just kind of decided, funny story. So I told Harvey Longy, who's another veteran guy. He was asking me like, hey, so are you going to go serve your mission or what, man? I was like, Harv, I don't know, man. Like, it's, I don't know if a mission is for me. Dude, he gives me the most serious look. He's like, dude, the mission's not for you. It's for the people you're going to go serve. You should go get your ass on a mission, man.
Dude, and that's awesome coming from Harvey, because Harvey wasn't so sure he was going to serve a mission, right? He was in your shoes, if I recall his story. And I think his mission ended up changing everything for him, including where he ended up playing ball.
Exactly.
Including a lot, his position to everything. So that's really cool. He gave you that advice. And so that's what you think was what kind of started you thinking like, oh, I really need to take a serious look at this.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, like I knew since I was a kid, I knew like I should serve a mission.
Yeah.
But that freshman year was like, man, I got a little taste of what it's like. I know that I can be better. I just needed some more time to develop,
And you got in the games, man.
Got into the games.
And as a freshman, like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because most of them don't. Like, especially, like, you just don't have, they're trying to put weight on you, your Devo lift, your Devo whatever, like your developmental lift or whatever, and then trying to get your body ready, your mind ready. But, dude, you got in right away. And that's got to be hard to get a taste of it. And then be like, hey, I'm going to put this on pause and go do something else.
Yeah. And that was because Coach Kalani and them were all on board. They're like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, stay. If you want to stay. Like, we'll work with you. And, obviously we don't want to lose you. But, like, if you're going to go serve a mission, then serve a mission because we know that will benefit the program at a later time.
Yeah. It's like almost like investing in the future in a way. Like, we know we've got this kid. We know what he's got. We trust him enough to play him. But we also know we can use him down the road as well.
Well, and let me ask you, because I know like the mission is kind of a controversial subject in the game of, or in college football. Do you really think it's a physical advantage that?
I think that's a really good question, and I think it depends on what position you play.
Okay.
I think it could be more of a physical advantage and probably what body type you are to start out, right? Because my guy Trey Alexander, I really believe. I don't know if you've met Trey. You'll get to meet him.
Okay.
He's a true freshman corner on the team right now.
Okay.
6'2", probably a little taller than 6'2", lightning fast, great ball skills. He's from Georgia.
Okay.
And he played this last year. He played on special teams. He played at corner. He played a lot for a true freshman. But I think if he had a year, if he'd been held back in 8th grade, or he'd had a year on a mission or something, and I just think his had his body develop a little bit more, bro, he would have been freaky this year. There's been no denying that kid. Now, this next year might be the year that you just see him take off. I talk to wide receivers, and they're like, dude, he was all over me, and I swear to you that they were trying to throw it away, and he just the last second reached up with one hand and like plucks this pick out of the ground. Like so that kid, yeah. But then there's other kids who come in and they're just like physically they're ready to go, and at that point you're sacrificing 2 years of paid football time to serve the Lord. Because what's the average age of a person in the NFL, right?
Yep.
It's those years. Like you're taking those years out, and I think we just had a draft, and we saw really talented football players that probably could have been drafted, not get drafted because they did those 2 years, and it cost them a lot of money in the end. So I don't know. I think it's dependent on the situation, but overall, I don't think it is. I think it's a true sacrifice of I have so many years in my 20s to play football, and now in college or NFL get paid to play football, and I'm putting that to the side to go serve the Lord. So I think it's a sacrifice all the way. What about you?
I would agree. I think I'd agree with that analysis there, and because I look at guys like Taysom Hill and look at guys who had served missions. They didn't get picked up. They didn't get drafted, right? The guys who did get drafted are ones who didn't serve missions.
Yeah.
So it definitely didn't serve them from the professional side. But as you look at how their careers turned out, I definitely would attest the mission experiences to how they overcame adversity. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, dude. It'll grow you up faster than anything you can do.
Absolutely.
100%. Like I'd love to talk about missions, dude. I remember my first night at the MTC. I'm from Spanish Fork. I'm still in Provo. Literally, our classroom was at the very top of one of the buildings they had classrooms in, and I could see my middle school I attended right out the window, and I knew my house was only a block away, so I couldn't see my house, but I could see the turn on the street I lived on. So I didn't feel like I was away from home.
Yeah.
And I was there in July till September learning Spanish, and when football season started, I could hear all the games from the MTC, and I had gone my whole life like attending those games, so I didn't feel it wasn't weird. But the first night I got to Dallas, and I got my apartment, and I got unpacked, and I threw my bike together, and we went teaching and stuff. We got back, and then you're finally alone, and you have time to think, and you're like, dude, I am in a place I know nothing about with a dude I don't know at all. I've been with an hour. Everybody, minus a few people from my MTC district, there's nobody here I know. Speaking a language I don't really know.
Yep.
Talking to people I don't really know. And you just, it'll mature you fast, man. Like you put everything of comfort off to the side, and you just get dialed in on preaching the gospel and learning a language and living a very strict set of rules. So the military is the only thing I think you could say is similar to that, right?
Yeah.
Or more intense maybe than that is the military. But other than joining the military, serving a mission, man, I think could grow you up faster than anything there is out there.
I agree. The regiment, right? The schedule, the level of discipline that you have to have. I mean, some of these kids who are going out serving missions from like these other third world countries, no structure to their lives whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then they come in, they serve a mission, and now it's your day from 6:30 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. It's all determined for you.
Yeah, it's planned out. I mean, what is it? 15-minute chunks that were in our planners. Like every 15 minutes is like planned out of your whole day.
Exactly. And I should clarify there, not just kids from third world countries, but also from America as well.
Oh,
don't
dude,
have
same
any structure.
Same for me, dude. Like, and I felt like I had school and football, and I did student government, I did student council. Like I had things that kept me busy, but I got my mission, and like within the first few days, you realize like, dude, I'm lazy. I'm a lazy person. Like usually I'm hopping on the game, or calling up friends or just texting and just messing around, or because
right.
there was no social media when I left my mission. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
But like I just wasted all this time, and then you're out there and you're like, dude, we are putting in like 14-hour days. Like I was lazy before. Did you come home and feel lazy? Maybe not. Maybe you hopped right into football and right into things. But I remember coming home and like until I got going, I was like, what are we doing? Wasting time.
Yeah. Well, so I had actually, I came home 4 weeks earlier than I was supposed to.
Okay.
And that was specifically for football. I talked to my mission president and he said, hey, we're okay with that because, served a good mission, faithful mission, and we'll honor this, so that you can get back to playing college football.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky to head straight into college football, the
and
schedule.
then that's very regimented.
Very regimented, exactly.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. I didn't feel like I lost a beat a whole lot.
That's
I would
awesome.
Say. Yeah.
Because I did. I felt worthless for a few days. I mean, I eventually found a job and school finally started up and I got doing things. But for a few days, I was just like seeing family and like visiting, and I was like, "What are we doing? Like, this is like let's go do something meaningful." But then you get worked into it. But dude, yeah, like before the mission, I would have been chill. Like, oh, we got nothing for a week. Cool, this is awesome. After, I was totally uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
so.
I'd have to agree, especially with the no companion. Well, to be honest, I actually enjoyed being by myself. I think the mission, one thing that the mission taught me was to be okay with being alone, to use it as a time to develop personally, I was watching YouTube. Yeah. Think, watch YouTube videos, develop some skills, something like that. So I definitely enjoyed, I didn't feel like that. Oh my gosh, I don't have my companion next to me.
Yeah. All
like
your
that.
video, so I'm going to totally derail us for a second, because this is, I feel like it's related in my brain. All your video editing skills, all your social media stuff, all that self-taught.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, I don't know if you use Blackmagic or Adobe or whatever you're using, but you just started down that path. Was it with the podcast, or were you doing it before? Were you doing it still when you were a football player as well? Like looking into it?
To be honest, football kind of took priority over everything.
Everything, yeah.
I felt like the one thing that football really affected for me was having time for other leisure activities, because my entire time I was just like, okay, I need to get the playbook right. I need to. Yeah. I'm just thinking and thinking.
There's always install. There's always cleanup. There's always something to do, man.
Exactly.
Always.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't until after I was done with football when I was like, okay, I need something that I can invest my time into, that I feel like is not just for money, not just for accomplishment. It's just because I enjoy doing it, So that was kind of the inspiration. And I was like, I just want to do this, man.
It's a valuable skill to have, man. Such a valuable skill to have.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, she wanted a YouTube channel when she was like 8, so I learned how to use iMovie.
Oh, awesome!
And then I was the OC at Spanish Work High at that time too, and I was like, oh, I can edit some of these plays into groups. I can show them 5 plays in a row of us doing it wrong, and 5 plays in a row of us doing it right, and not have to hit pause or play, just play through it all.
Oh yeah.
And so I started to use it for football, and I'm not really editing videos now. Well, actually, dude, I do. So my real job, my professional career, I'm a corporate trainer, and I screen record and edit, and I still use iMovie. I've done some. Is it called Blackmagic? What's the other one?
There's DaVinci
Resolve,
yeah.
But the website you download it from is maybe Blackmagic, something
like that.
Yeah, but DaVinci Resolve I've used when we first started CougConnect. But dude, valuable skill to have. I still use it today. And there's people I work with. They're like, "Wait, you did this?" I was like, "Well, yeah, but it's honestly not hard. I could teach you in a little bit of time." But yeah, dude, that's super cool. You not only, because you could have you could have tried to do 360 no scopes or so. You could have invested your time into something that is still fun and that has some value in enjoyment, but you actually invested in a practical skill too, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think, and one thing I've always felt like I've tried to develop as from when I was a kid to as a young man, I guess not a young man, but a man, was kind of looking ahead at what setting myself up for the future, Yeah. So I felt like that was a skill that, maybe I'm not good at it really right now, and maybe I'm not very skilled, but I understand the basics, and I know that I can develop it throughout the years. And this is going to the return on investment with this skill is going to serve me at a later time. So here we are now, I'm able to, start a small business and try to do it as a profession, So I would say that I would definitely attribute that to me thinking like, hey, I can't, right now things aren't looking very good, but in the future, as I really develop and hone in my skills, I could try and make a living off of this. So.
Dude, I'm going to derail us even further. That's what I do. So, some of the things I train on. So I'm training mid-level and upper level supervisors, leaders, directors, managers, some C-suite people as well. It's kind of what I do. And I'm certified in Big 5 personality test. And I'm also certified in emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And you just said a whole bunch of stuff to describe your personality. If you were to take the Big 5, that would earmark you as a high achiever and a person who has a high aptitude to be successful as an entrepreneur. I don't know if you knew that or not, but you did. Like, you just said some things about thinking of the future, basically industriousness, which is one of the things you can score on your Big 5. It's a subcomponent of conscientiousness, which is all personality jargon. But basically what that means is you have an ability, it's kind of a superpower as part of your personality, to sacrifice the present moment for the future. Where most people would just do the scroll on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, you have a purpose with it, which is to learn a skill. And you're knowing I'm developing something useful in the future, which you talked about. So right there, I know that you're moderately high in industriousness, which is the biggest determining factor outside of IQ for success as an entrepreneur.
Interesting. You know what's funny is I also feel like there's a vice to these personality types, and I think for mine personally, it's the paralysis by analysis.
Over analysis, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. It's the not enjoying the present moment because you're thinking so far ahead.
That's me too, man.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, like I was today. So today we did, and tomorrow I fly to Boise. And I'm doing trainings in Boise on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then some other stuff, and then some other work stuff. And then I'm flying home Thursday, and it's on my mind. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to be presenting on. What's this? I know we have our little podcast tonight. I'm thinking about that. I got all these things, and I got to make sure we pay these guys for this. They did all the stuff with my business. I do too. And I'm out there, and I'm on the grill, and I've got carne asada. I'm grilling up for dinner, and the weather is beautiful. My kids are like getting along, playing, having fun outside. It's just this perfect moment. And I had to like, whoa, hey, stop. You got all that stuff in the future. Like, you got it taken care of.
Yeah.
You've given that presentation before. You've done this before. You always get people taken care of, paid. Like, you always forget that and just stop and take in this moment. But I have to be intentional with it.
Yeah. Deliberate.
I have to be deliberate with it. If I have downtime, I will go and check on things I'm supposed to be doing or my mind will go there. And a lot of times it's a skill. It takes effort for me to practice. I'm going to be here in this moment because this is a great moment.
Yep.
And this is really the only thing you can enjoy fully is the moment you're in. So, dude, you're not alone. All that. And I'm high in industriousess. I think I'm like 82 or 83 out of 100 in industriousness. So that's probably a common component in the personality. And the Big 5 is different than a lot of the personalities because it was developed in academia. It has tons of peer-reviewed and empirical research done on it, tens of thousands of articles of study done on it, twin studies and all these things and generational studies. And it's super accurate, dude. Super detailed. I'll have to send you one to take.
That'd be great. We actually, as a football team in, I want to say 2021 or 2020.
Carl came and gave it to you.
Carl, yes.
Yeah. Shout out Carl Sokia, dude.
Shout out Carl. He helped us kind of, because it was based on the motivations behind a person and not just the surface level motivations, but also the subconscious motivations. Dude. And that was an interesting test because I found out a lot about myself that I think it kind of resonates with what you had said, someone who, because it says like, when you're at your best self, this is what motivates you. This is what drives you. And then when you're at your, if you're overstimulated or if there's a trigger that kind of turns you to this, they call it shadow self.
Yeah, dude, that's real talk. That's Carl Jung talk. Right there. That's real stuff.
Yeah, shadow self, and for me and for I think personality types like me, it is the being overwhelmed by your own thoughts, being overwhelmed by your own analysis. And I was like, man, there's times when I recognize it and I'm just like, dude, that's exactly what this test said, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's like, here's the thing. What you learn about personality when you start diving deep into it is your biggest strengths, your biggest abilities, your talents. If someone just said, hey, like, what's Alema like? What's the best things about Alema? The things they would list about you also become your biggest weaknesses, right? Because there is a give and take with all of this. If you're a super organized and detailed person, it's very hard for you to go with the flow or change plans or be spontaneous or take advantage of this like quick spontaneous opportunity that cropped up because it's not in the plans. And it's like, those plans suck. This is cool. We should kill those plans and go do this thing. And it's hard for them to go and enjoy those things. Yeah. So their biggest strength becomes their weakness. You and I focus on the future, making plans, thinking ahead, preparing things, making preparations, all that stuff. And it robs us a lot of times of joy in the present moment. And so what is your strength also has its inherent weaknesses with it as well, like built right in. And so, dude, it's kind of a crazy thing.
Yeah, this is an amazing conversation, by the way, because I feel like we just
I love, dude. I'm such a nerd with this stuff. Like once I got started getting certified in this and training people on this, like I see it all the time, and I like have to like stop and talk about it. And I'm glad you know a lot about it, and you're like
a little bit. I like to be self-aware. I try to be as much as I can, because one thing that I struggle with, and this is something to tie this back to BYU.
Yes.
And my experience there was that I met a lot of people who were not self-aware, who were very much they bought into the delusion, you know, that they had. And I saw it with BYU fans, for instance. I saw it with
no, bro, no.
We're not delusional. There's no way, you know, when they're saying we want Bama, you know, after we just beat, you know, after we beat a, you know, not so good team, you know. But yeah, there was a lot of things that I recognize with people in places of leadership, especially, and those who oversaw me as a player, that I was like, there is no way that you see the world this way. There's no way that you perceive my actions this way. Yeah. And now you have a very real life effect and impact on my experience here. You know, I'm not one to play the victim card at all. I'm in complete control of my how I perceive things, but at the same time, I'm like, Cade, I have to recognize that you are playing an active role in me and my career, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think, you know, a lot of people have experience with Little League sports. And, you know, in Little League sports, politics happen.
Yep.
And maybe subconsciously, maybe unintentionally.
Right.
But it happens. And then a little bit fewer people have experience with high school sports. And sometimes that's better. Sometimes you have a really competitive, well-run program and it's not as political, but sometimes that still creeps in. But you're like, surely, and I don't know if politics is the right word, but like there's people who just have a belief, this guy is the guy or this guy is this, and they are going to back that belief in their actions. It might even, like I said, be subconsciously driving that. Because I don't want to feel like, oh, people are giving people money or favors. Like, no, I don't think it's necessarily, that's not what I'm talking about. All that probably does happen. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about anywhere you go. This happens in the business world, man. This is going to happen in a lot of things you do. You're going to meet people who have either believe in you or don't, and they're a decision maker, right? And I think that's part of the reason why I got out of teaching. Part of it was CougConnect got so big that I had to get a more flexible job so I could go do different things. But part of it also was like, I have progressed. I've been head of a department. I've run student council. I've coached varsity football. Like I have progressed and done. I've checked all the boxes. I've done everything I can without getting into administration. And I don't want to get into administration. And I don't get to control a whole lot of things going on. And that just didn't work for me. So you'll find it everywhere. But in college football, I think some people think, well, it's so competitive. Their jobs are on the line. Like they've got to play the best guys, or they've got to like. And I don't think they're intentionally not playing the best guys.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think in programs, people have a belief that this guy's the best guy, or he needs more opportunities, and this guy dropped a pass or ran the wrong route or screwed up a protection, and so we can't trust him anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just a human nature thing, and it happens. I'm guarantee you, I know, dude. I've talked to plenty of guys in the league. It happens in the league too. I mean, it probably happens at the highest level of corporate America. So I think what you're saying is exactly true, and it doesn't have to be that you're throwing shade at anybody or making excuses or playing the victim card. It's a part of dealing with humans.
And I would say too that most of what I had to say with my experience, I understand that these things are common throughout, the college football landscape. I'm not in any way saying that this is specific or unique to my situation.
Yeah.
I understand. And then that was one thing that kind of gave me, helped me cope a little bit with the way that my football career turned out. Because I'm like, there's hundreds, if not thousands of kids who are probably in the same shoes as me.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't feel bad about sharing my experience because I know that there's other kids that feel the same way.
Absolutely.
But when you have an audience who's listening to you and I talk about this and they're thinking, sour grapes. Sour grapes, man. You know what I mean?
Nah, dude. That's not been my experience. I've known a lot of guys who've come through BYU who have a lot of talent and a lot of gifts. And for one reason or another, it didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
Like, and I can think of a few different people. Let's look at a person who it didn't work out for him, and maybe it wasn't going to, and let's look at a person who didn't work out for him, but it did somewhere else. Like Chris Jackson. You play with Chris.
Yep, great guy,
supreme athlete. So like every DB I've talked to is like the kid runs the craziest routes. He's so explosive out of his breaks. Like he's supremely talented. This, and I think you can equally distribute responsibility for whatever happened or didn't happen with Chris's career, but there's all that talent there. Didn't really work out for him. Dallin Holker, same situation. You were in the same room with Dallin.
Yep.
Okay, same thing. Like Dallin necessarily wasn't getting on the field as much as he felt like he should or he wanted to, right or wrong. I mean, there's a lot of good or tight ends in that room. A lot of good tight ends in that room. I'm not trying to downplay any of that. Isaac Rex holds the touchdown record for BYU tight ends. Like, let's not downplay that.
True.
But he felt like he was in a position where maybe he wasn't getting all the opportunities he was due, or he couldn't progress as fast or in the way he wanted to. And he was at Colorado State. Holy crap. Like, has a freaky, awesome career at Colorado State.
Right.
So, I mean, we could pick different examples. I think that's a good example to kind of show both sides. I don't know if Chris lands in any system and it works out. Maybe a different coach believes in him and, like, gives him a lot of opportunities and do things. And, there's things Chris did that, that didn't help him out. And that too. And maybe you could say things for Dallin. Like, if Dallin wanted to be on the field more at BYU, he probably could have done X, Y, or Z better. And maybe he could have different whatever. But, like, he found a way for it to make for him work. And,
absolutely.
And, I mean, him and Isaac, I think they left football the same year, right? If he would have stayed at BYU, he's still or close to it. I mean, if it was maybe 1 year apart, it was close. It wasn't like he was there and Isaac was going to be done the next year when he left. Like, there was still going to be competition there. And if they liked Isaac more for whatever reason, like, Dallin was probably going to see the field less. Although I felt like his role was getting bigger and bigger as he left. I don't know. But those are just like some examples I'm thinking of. Like, I don't think it's sour grapes at all, man. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. You look at Apple, what happened with Steve Jobs and stuff there. Like, he starts it, he gets kicked out, he goes here, he starts something else, they bring him back. Like, is that sour grapes for him? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think so, man. It's human nature to kind of pick a team or pick a guy and go all in on him, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah. And in my conversations with people who have shared that, I guess, that opinion of, players who enter the transfer portal or players who make these decisions for themselves. Like, for me, I'm coming from, because I've come across players like this who have a life, right? They have a life. They have things to consider outside of just the landscape of college football and their careers and stuff. And so I look at a guy like Dallin Holker, who I believe he made the best decision for his career. I mean, you look at how it turned out at Colorado State, even though the school, may have been, the program itself wasn't great,
Dude, and here's the thing that I get so bugged. Like, people are kind of dissing on Keelan and Harry for leaving right now. And they're like, they're going to go to a school and they're going to win less games. I'm like, maybe. Like, first of all, we don't know what's going to happen next season. Like, but it's like, people are not always making decisions on, like, I want to be on the team that wins the most games. Like, they want to be developed. They want to be appreciated. They want to be invested in. They want to be compensated. They want to be compensated. They want these things. And I don't get the vibe that Harry has any sour grapes at BYU. I think that Harry left in a very classy way, in a
Yeah.
respectful way.
Yep.
And wherever he lands up, I bet you he has a lot of success there. And I don't know that he's worried as much about wins and losses as opportunities to be successful.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's just so much more into it than winning games or getting money. Like it's multifaceted decision these days.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think that that's something that gets lost because of the emotion and passion that fans have for their
Yeah.
programs. You know, I don't fault them at all. But at the same time, when you're saying dumb things about the motivations of a 20-year-old kid who,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like for me, it hits home personally because I'm thinking of my boy Keenan who left, and
That's a good combo too.
great convo. You know, hopefully we'll be able to get him on the podcast. Keenan, please.
Yeah, Keenan. Dude, you've been on CougConnect podcast before, bro. Like, don't
but
big time us now.
his situation, like, and it falls in line with a lot of other players where they're just making the best decision for their careers. And to think that one school has all of that and will maintain that throughout the 4 years that a player plays is, in my perspective, kind of a dumb analysis. You know, I just don't think it's driven by logic or driven by like reason. You know, it's something that's an emotional outlash to these players who are leaving these programs who you care about. I get it.
Yeah.
But man, like you'll be all right. You know what I mean? You'll be okay.
And I think that's kind of cool about CougConnect in a way is we've been able to get fans kids, which is probably even more important, face to face with some of these athletes, and you get to see like, oh, this is a real person. They're funny. They're this. They're that. Like, oh, they're quiet. They're shy. Like, whatever you see, like, oh, this is a real person. Because with the helmet on and shoulder pads on,
can't really see that.
You don't see that, right? And then that guy hits the portal. Like, you have a lot more empathy for those people when you know them, right? When Keenan left, I had a lot of empathy for that guy. When I knew him, I helped him get out to Tennessee, and I was happy to do it because he's a great guy.
Yep.
And was I part of me like, dude, Keenan, just stay. Like, you're so talented. Like, just stay. You're such a big part of our. Yes, part of me was in that. But now that I know him as a person, I'm also like rooting for Keenan. Like, dude, you go do what you need to do. Go explore this opportunity. Go expand your network. Go learn new things and get a different opportunity. Go play in the SEC. Like, dude, of course. Like, it's a good thing. It humanizes. One of the benefits of CougConnect is it's humanized players.
Well, let me ask you, Jake. So I know, you know, with your platform here at CougConnect, I've only heard great things.
Oh.
I mean, every single person that I've talked to, every single player that has been, you know, associated with CougConnect has just shared positive. And I think because you guys have prioritized the relationship over the bottom line, which I feel like has helped out your bottom line in the long run, you know. But tell me, like, what was kind of the inspiration for CougConnect? Why'd you guys start it, and what exactly is CougConnect in the big picture?
So it's a crazy story. Like, at the time, I am a junior high Spanish teacher and I'm coaching high school football. And several of the guys I coached were on your team. You probably knew Jason Money, who was a safety for you guys. Yep. Sam Daw, you probably knew a little bit. I coached both those guys at Spanish Fork High. I was John Nelson's Spanish teacher over at Salem. So I had connections with the guys on the team. And when I coached football, one of the things I did was we always fed players. We'd set goals for them. Like, hey, when I was the OC, I'd always try and take care of the O-line because it's a very disrespected position. You don't get a lot of props and recognition. They only notice you when you get a holding call or give up a sack. You know, otherwise people aren't looking at you. They don't notice what you're doing. So I'd always incentivize the O-line, like, hey, no holding penalties. Give up no sacks, and we rush for 100 yards, I'll buy you guys all steak dinner. Like, well, I'll bring you my house, we'll grill up the steaks. So my wife and I, and then we kind of learned, you know, there were some kids who weren't going home to steak dinners, you know, or any dinner. They're going home to cold cereal if there was milk in the fridge to put on top of that cereal. And so we kind of prioritized, like, hey, let's take care of some of these kids. And so we'd invite, sometimes we invited kids for their personality because they're fun, but sometimes we invited other kids, like, because we knew they weren't getting necessarily like 4 square meals a day at home.
Yep.
So we kind of started doing that, and then it transitioned with the guys who went to BYU into feeding more athletes, and really CougConnect happened when we had Malik Moore and Mason Wake and some guys over for ribs. And it was the beginning of NIL. I think the Built Bar deal was just announced, and everyone's like pumped and excited about it. I'm a coach, but I'm also a fan.
Yep.
So I'm excited about it, and I'm talking to them. And I'm like, gosh, you guys are making so much money in NIL. Next time you come, I think you guys should like buy the steaks. Like I'll smoke them or I'll smoke the ribs, but you guys should buy the meat. Just kind of messing around, and like none of them thought it was funny. It got like quiet. I was like, what? What did I say something? And they're like, dude, we have no money. It's July and August. We don't even have our full stipends.
Yeah.
And one of those months you get a half, and the other month you get nothing.
Yep.
I think we were in like the nothing month. Like they're like, as much as we like to come here and hang out, like we're taking leftovers, man. Like, cause we don't have grocery money right now. And I was like blown away. I was like, wait, in the NIL era where you guys can make money, you don't have any money, and you're taking my leftovers home to eat. Like it blew my mind as a fan. I didn't think that happened at BYU.
Yeah.
You see the beautiful stadium, you see the facilities, you see everything. Surely, like the players are just rolling in the dough. Like, that's what I thought as a fan.
Right.
And you see on social media and TV and ESPN's talking about the Built Bar deal, and you're like, dude, these guys are just raking in the dough. And they were like, no, that's not how it is. And some players confided to me like, hey, I donate plasma so I can make it in July and August.
Exactly.
I missed church on Sunday to go do DoorDash Walmart grocery pickup orders because it's the best time to get a bunch of those shifts in. And I'm like, you're missing church because you don't have money. And I'm like, and you're an athlete where your body is everything, and you're donating plasma in the middle of your workouts. And they're like, dude, I've blacked out at lifts.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all for me. This is like a revelation. Like,
no, I know who you're talking to. I know who you're talking about too. Yeah.
And so I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, guys, like, let's like do something, like set up a fan event and sign autographs, or set up a clinic and coach kids, or just charge kids to hop on and play Fortnite. You guys are playing Fortnite most nights anyway. Charge kids $35 to play Fortnite with you, or whatever, because the Fortnite was super hot at that time, right? And they were all like, yeah, that's a great idea. We just don't have time to like organize this. Like, we're busy with school or dialed in on football and all this stuff. And they're like, you should do it. I was like, I'm not your guy. Like, I will smoke the ribs and I will show up to all those events and pay you. Or if I can't make it, I'll just Venmo it and support you guys in that. But like, I'm not the guy to do this. I'm not a business guy. I'm a teacher and a coach. And then they came back another time and they're like, hey, what have you made any progress with this? Like, we really need somebody. And I'm like, you guys aren't serious that you like want us to do it. And he's like, no, like really, we want you to set something up. We'll back you. Like, so I've got guys like Blake Freeland, Mason Wake, Malik Moore, Isaac Rex was at one of those dinners. All these guys are like, Keenan was involved.
Yep,
like,
I remember.
We'll back you 100%. Like, we'll shout you out on social media. We'll get fans to the events. You just got to organize stuff. Holy cow. So we like talked to some buddies who actually have business background, and they're like, oh yeah, dude, this is easy. We can do this. We'll handle the taxes. We'll handle the business structure. We'll handle all this stuff. We'll set up all the tech for you.
Wow.
Just go make it happen. And they're BYU fans too. I was like, okay. So we just like seriously threw it together. We threw our first event. It was Tyler Algier, Samson Nakua, Neil Pau, and Uriah Leatawa. We did an event, sold out the event. They were there for 90 minutes or so. They each made like $450 and they were out. And they were like, that was sick. We just like joked around with kids and signed autographs and answered a few serious questions from some fans and some parents, and then took pictures. And then we made $450 in 90 minutes. That sets us up. We're good. Like, there's no Uber Eats now. There's no plasma now. Like, we're good. And so we just had instant success, and it just grew from there. So that's kind of the story.
That's awesome. One thing I appreciate is that and also kind of sucks is that it took someone third party to step in and to get involved. And then throughout the years, as you're building, you start to realize these walls go up between you and BYU. Could you share a little bit about your experience with how that turned out?
Some of them in the beginning were necessary walls. Okay. So in the very beginning, the NCAA did not. This was supposed to be totally separate. And BYU was kind of genius and cutting edge with the Built Bar deal, because basically they had a deal with Built Bar giving them a free license to use their logo and to use their stuff that was separate. And then Built Bar had its own separate deal with the athletes that allowed them to use the athletes along with that. So and the NCAA approved it. Like they submitted to the NCAA like, hey, this is our proposal. We'd like to do this. Is this permissible? The NCAA is like, go for it. This is a perfect way to do NIL because no one knew. Like no one knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
But then the third party starts and they're like, whoa, we can't be involved because in the beginning that was the rule. Like we can't be involved because it blurs the lines of pay for play. If we're involved, we could tell you, hey, take care of this guy. Hey, take care of that guy. And then it becomes basically you become our minion of pay for play. So what we're going to do, we're going to have you work with Gary Verone, who is at Built for Life, which is not directly under the BYU athletic department.
Yep.
And we have a degree of separation. So that was a very like healthy and necessary wall in the beginning. And Gary was awesome. He was an attorney and he'd work for the NCAA and he was super cool because I could call him up and be like, so Gary, we have this idea.
Yeah.
But we don't want to get anyone in trouble. Because at the time, the penalty was if you violated their little guidelines, you would lose your eligibility. The school wouldn't be punished.
Oh, wow.
It was you guys.
You, the individual.
Yeah, it was the player. Like, I wouldn't be punished as a third party because I'm just like a business guy doing my thing. The only person who would bear the burden of violating those guidelines was you. And so we had to be like very cautious to not take some of these star players and like have them lose eligibility and become a negative spotlight for this. So we bugged Gary a lot. Like, Gary, is this allowed, this allowed? And then he kind of coached us up along the way of what we could and couldn't do.
True.
So that's one wall that was like 100% like kind of a natural, holistic wall. But as the more court cases and more things happened and it evolved, that wall very naturally and easily could have come down and it never did.
Yeah.
Right. And it would be interesting because Gary and I had this great relationship where we'd like talk back and forth about things. And then we would do stuff. And then like it would get back to me around about way like, oh, like BYU doesn't like you guys. They don't like what you're doing. I'm like, that's funny because the only person I'm supposed to talk to at BYU really seems to like us, always giving us props, always offering us like opportunities to do other things. Like, hey, you should work with these people who want to do NIL, but they don't have a relationship with the players. Like, can you guys basically broker this deal for them and help these businesses do it? Because they don't know what they're doing. And maybe they do know what they're doing, but they don't have any relationship with the players and you guys do. And so my experience was we have a great relationship with BYU. And then other people were like, well, they don't like what you're doing. And they don't like this. And I'm like, well, then talk to me. Like, you guys have my cell. Like, you guys have my cell. Call me. I'm open to feedback and criticism. I'm making this up as I go along, man. Like, we're doing Fortnite tournaments one week and then we're doing bowling like the next month. And then we're trying to be like a podcast. Like, we're just trying to like find as many avenues. We're just pivoting until we kind of honed in on what actually fans wanted. And I think we found that now. But it was just like this big learning experience. And we'd kind of like take some strays. Like, wait, what? Like, don't like what we're doing? Like, how? Why? Like, tell us. Like, then please be open and communicate with us. Now you're allowed to. And then it kind of became all this smoke around. Like, well, there's going to be a collective. And they're going to be sponsored by the school. And then you guys are going to go away. And I'm like, why are we going away? And then because they won't need you anymore. And I was talking with some people at BYU and they were like, you can't go away. I'm like, okay, but what I'm hearing is I'm just going to like close up shop. And because this collective's coming to town, they're like, you can't do that. You're too big of an asset at this point to just go away. So basically, just let them kind of tarnish your reputation and say that you're not necessary and you're going away because they don't want to undermine this new thing that's coming up. But we still need you. And we need you now more than ever because NIL is getting more competitive. It's not $100 deals. It's tens of thousands, starting into $100,000 deals for more and more players. In the beginning, there was $1 million deals, but those kind of deals became more and more common. Like, you can't go anywhere. Then I'm like, then maybe like shout us out a little bit. Like, throw us a little bit of a bone.
Yeah,
like, wow,
throw you a bone.
Yeah, like we can't do that though because this new guy's coming up. They're our official sponsored one. So if we gave you guys too much love or hype, we don't want to like discourage them. So it was honestly like the most awkward position to be in. And honestly, like, I mean, I think like we were coming out from a place of like, hey, we're just here to help. We all have day jobs. Yeah. Like every single person has day jobs. I know for the first almost over 2 years, almost 3 years, nobody made money. And if we're talking about like breaking even from the startup costs, no one broke even. Nobody, I don't know if some people still haven't even broke even on this.
Yeah.
Right. It's all been done just to help players. And so it was super awkward, man, to do. Were you here? What was your experience on the player side of this? Like, you knew about CougConnect, like, but tell me about like, you guys' side, because I hear stuff from guys too.
Oh man, I think we saw the writing on the wall early with like third-party NIL agencies, because they wanted to centralize power, to this collective.
Yeah.
And then they framed it in a way where like, oh, no, guys, don't worry, because this collective is going to be how we get paid, because everything, all the cash flow is going to come through this collective. You guys will get paid. We'll take care of you guys. We'll get all these NIL deals.
Yeah.
Then as the collective's getting ready to launch, we start hearing through the grapevine that some NIL deals have been shot down. We're like, why are these NIL deals getting shot down? I have, Caden Hawes and some other guys saying, hey, we got this offer from this one company saying that they'll pay me this to do a photo shoot or a video.
Yeah, and some of those were thousands of dollars.
Some of those were thousands of dollars.
Well,
and
those are good deals.
Exactly, which for us is a big deal,
Yeah.
Then we hear that these deals have been dropped, not by the players, but by the institution, by BYU, like these guys who are supposed to represent us in these deals. And so we're just thinking to ourselves, like, hey, what is going on? Because we feel like BYU, the brand that we have, the brand awareness that the fans have to BYU, we shouldn't be having this.
There shouldn't be issues.
Shouldn't be issues at all. We should be able to find a way to fund these players, make sure that they don't have to, struggle through the summer during the months that we don't get our stipends,
Yeah.
But something was going on. This shadowy figure, this boogeyman at BYU was stopping this stuff, And so for us, it was frustrating. And then when we'd bring it up as a concern, it was, oh, you're not grateful.
Yeah.
You're not grateful for what we're doing over here. Oh, you guys don't see the work that we're trying to do. But that work then never came to fruition and never materialized for us.
And I think they had good intentions, man. But I think there was so many hands in the pot and that are trying to like do it their way or get their kind of stuff at the forefront, and that there wasn't alignment with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to jump. I want to stick on this, but I feel like the one thing that's different right now at BYU is there's a ton of alignment.
Yeah.
With us, with Royal Blue, with RevShare, with the staff, there's a ton of alignment. But at this time, dude, we'll go back in time. We talk about this.
Trying to figure it out.
Everyone trying to figure it out. And why are deals getting shut down? Or why are big deals getting a lot of attention, but then like they just die? Like I gotta like how many times do we have like a press release about this like big deal?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is sick. This is gonna be awesome. Like, bro, just between you and me, like I bought a whole bunch of NFTs just to like support.
FTX.
It was Okavu.
Okavu, yes.
You remember Okavu?
I remember Okavu.
Yeah, dude, I bought a bunch of NFTs just to like, hey, this is what fans do. Like, I'm already paying fans. CougConnect's like a year and a half old or something at this point, but like, or I'm already paying players. Pardon me. But this is what fans do. Like, if everyone buys a few NFTs, if everyone buys 2, what were they like, packs of NFTs, then the players should all like make a couple $100 at least, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna buy NFTs. I get a gold Isaac Rex NFT, my very first one. I'm like, damn, dude, I just got a gold one on my first one. Like, sick. So I screenshot it and I texted to Isaac and I'm like, hey, bro, I just got a gold Isaac Rex card, NFT card or whatever. You gotta tell me how much you make off of this. I'm curious because I got yours. And then I got some like kind of basic ones of other players, and I got like a Cosmo one or something too. But like that gold one, I was like, oh, this is cool. It tells you how rare it is or whatever. And I'm a crypto guy. And then I'm like, I'm going to transfer this over to OpenSea. And then you couldn't do it. I'm like, wait, these aren't real NFTs? These aren't minted on OpenSea? Like,
nope.
Wait, what? And then I followed up with Isaac. Next time I see him in person, I'm like, bro, you got to tell me, how much is my gold NFT? How much did it make you? He's like, I didn't get anything for that. So I was like, wait, what? Big deal, highly publicized, and you didn't get anything for that. You're obviously kicking it on some NFT somewhere. I should go see if Okavu's website is still up. Can I still see my NFTs? I know I couldn't put them on
Probably,
OpenSea.
yeah.
Can I go check them out? Or when the company went down, like they all go down? Like, I don't know. But anyway, dude, like, so stuff like that, right? That's
stuff like that.
Not to throw too many strays at Okavu, but like there was stuff like that happening.
Yeah. Well, and then like FTX was the cryptocurrency, and they were kind of teaching us like financial literacy and stuff.
Mhm.
Then they go out of business.
Well, in a spectacular
in a
way.
spectacular way.
Yeah.
Spectacular way that they went out, and that was kind of like the overarching theme for BYU and its NIL status was like companies would come in, companies would go out.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating for us because we knew the value that we had as players. We knew like the revenue that we brought to the school. We were very self-aware in that way. Maybe some players were a little more egotistical about the way that they understood that, but we have family men on the team, and they understood. Okay, why is it that during the summer I can't afford groceries for my family? Some of them have kids at this point,
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to understand this, and we're presenting this as a concern on behalf of the players. Got shut down real quick.
Yeah, because they just labeled it as you're ungrateful.
Yeah.
There was people at BYU when NIL first became a thing, and they're like, first thing is like, I'm gonna fight like hell to get you every dollar you deserve, and then very quickly it pivoted into, you should learn to like order off the dollar menu and embrace like being a college student. And I'm like, listen, I don't think this was an organic leap for like to go from saying this to that. I almost feel like there was direction from above that was like, hey, we don't want to get too crazy with this NIL stuff.
Yeah.
Like, let's take this slow. Like, let's take the cautious approach with this. Like, let's not go all in on this. Is it going to be a bad PR for the university? Is it going to be good for the kids to give? Is it good for, now we know. Is it good to give a kid $100K right out the gates? Is it good for that? Well, guess what, bro? There's a lot of guys on the team right now who are getting six figures or more, or multiples of six figures.
Right.
And none of them have like spontaneously combusted or like anything. Like, it turns out like that they all survived, and it's okay.
Exactly.
Right. But at the time, like, I feel like there was a lot of uncertainty and fear around what this NIL monster was going to do. And so it was just a weird time, man. I feel like the people's positions on things changed a lot, and I don't know. So, and then I knew we were on to something and doing something important, because I was first taking care of the guys that I knew.
Yeah.
And then very quickly I was just getting texts from unknown numbers like, hey, Jake, this is so-and-so from the team. I really could use, and like, dude, I had guys reach out. I need $75 to change my tire. Like, that's a true text. I could pull it up from a guy who's in the NFL right now.
Wow.
I could pull up a text and show you, hey, Jake, I need $75 to change my tire. So I'm like, it's not greed, right? This is like cover the basic needs of life, right? And I got a text from guys like, hey, I can do whatever you need me to do. I can do a report. I can come on the podcast. I can do it. I can do a Q&A on Twitter. I could do whatever. But can you take me grocery shopping and then just like buy the groceries after I do it for my payment?
Sheesh.
And I was like, yeah, bro, like we could do that. And so those are all true stories. And I mean, we could bring people on here to talk about it, but like in the early days, like that's kind of what we were at, right? Now we're doing well over six figures every year for the last couple of years. We're doing like a lot more. We're doing cooler things. But in the early days, I was not getting the impression that it was greed. It was like there was definitely a need for it. And the amounts of money players were often asking for were like, I just need to get by amounts of money.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's exactly right. I think you represented the player side perfectly, where it was, imagine how desperate a player has to be to reach out to someone completely
that you've never met before,
being completely vulnerable with them and saying, hey, I can't even afford groceries right now, man. And that was something that I took personally when the conversations got shot down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, these are my buddies, man. These are my dudes. I myself am at the time was a college football player.
Yeah.
And, having to sit down with my wife and tell her, hey, babe, we got to cut back on the spending. Like, we will not make it through the summer. We will not make it through the summer. We're going to be, either, luckily we didn't have to live out on the streets, but living with our in-laws, which we ended up having to do at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a frustrating time as a player, as someone who deeply cared about my teammates, and then, we see like these, you like a third party NIL agency who, you're having obstacles in trying to provide us stuff because of the decisions being made by other people behind the curtain, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was another frustration for us, because we're like, man, the guys who do want to take care of us can't, and the guys who are taking care of us won't.
Yeah. It was funny because I feel like there was so much juice behind NIL when it first came out. Like just, I mean, I think someone said that Bill Barr got something like $10 million worth of marketing value because ESPN picked it up, Good Morning America picked it up, you know, like whoever, like all these entities picked it up and carried that story. And it's like, you can't buy that advertising. You can't pay for it. Right. And they got all that out. It was like, dude, imagine if back when the juice was just
Fresh.
peak freshness. And they were like, hey, do you want to make a huge impact in NIL? Everyone go subscribe to CougConnect. Bro, I think and you know, maybe we lose a lot of subscribers because we didn't know what the heck we were doing at the time, right? Like our content was like kind of like spotty, and our events were kind of like we were focusing more on events and corporate sponsorship than we were on creating content for fans and connecting fans with players, and especially out of state fans who don't get to come to all the things here in Provo, but they can hop on a Q&A and feel like they're connected and heard and like understood, like develop. So like we maybe we lose everybody who signs up to the beginning because of that. But I feel like we could have had tens of thousands of subscribers, which would have translated into like some big bags. And I mean, in those days, dude, it was basically every penny was landed in the players' pockets because they needed it too. So
yeah, I'm learning that now as an entrepreneur, where I want to take care of the guys that are working for me, and so it's like that comes at an expense, but I know in the long term that's going to serve me a lot better than. And I think that's what's happened with CougConnect is like, you guys have such a great reputation with the players now. They're like, no, they take care of the players. You know, they're going to prioritize your guys' pockets over their own, which I think just translates better to the future, you know, with all these big players who are now signing with CougConnect. So
yeah, I'm pumped about it, and I feel like all those walls and barriers are pretty much gone at this point.
That's good.
I feel like we are starting to be embraced for the first time, and we're aligning, not because before we were always aligned with the players and like, hey, you need this, we'll find a way to make it work. Like we will find a way. Like, and we paid players fees for transferring to other schools. They had fees at other schools, and they're like, I can't be eligible to play in this game until I pay this fee. The NCAA is like on me. It's like, how much is the fee? Like $3,000. We're like, okay, like we'll find a way. We'll find a way, and like we'll get it. And we had verification with some people that they weren't just scamming us for $3,000.
Right.
That they legitimately like had to get this taken care of. But like we'll find a way, you know, make it work. But now, like now we're in a different position, and not just are we aligned with the players, I feel like still, because I still feel like players can reach out to us and we can help them with things. But I also feel like we're aligned with the staff in the university in a much better way.
That's awesome.
And that they're able to come and you know what? They're starting to realize like, oh, hey, those guys at CougConnect, like when we have a need, like they can help us out. And I can kind of push it onto them because I've got my job and all the things I'm doing. This guy needs this for whatever. I can just kind of refer them to them and it gets taken care of.
That's awesome.
And so it's been really cool to see that kind of grow and that trust trickled not just from the players, but trickle over into the coaches as well too.
That's awesome. And I hope CougConnect takes off. I hope that, you know, continuing the work with you, we're able to elevate the CougConnect brand.
Yeah.
You know, get more people eyes on to CougConnect, not just players, but I think there's an audience out there that just cares about good people who want to do good things in the community, you know. And I think that if we find a way to market that as the brand of CougConnect, not just from the player's experience, but just like the audience feels that, you know what I mean? I think that CougConnect has a very, very bright future.
And I think we could benefit from your help because basically we have been like in this growth and expansion mindset, and we haven't been telling our story. And that's a big part of branding is like tell your story.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people know us for a lot of different things, but not like whether it's events or insider info or whatever, but they don't really know who we are, what our story is. And I think you guys can help us like tell our story. Cause once the fans know the story, like it'll only just continue to grow. And I mean, really, I think it's on like 80% of all our subscriptions have come from Twitter. And so we haven't even tapped Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any of that. So as we can get that out to people and fans realize what it's about, like sky's the limit, man.
I love it. I'm ready for this, this journey with you. And I think it's been great working with you so far, Jake. I think initially, you came off as someone who genuinely cared about the players and wants to take care of them. And I think that is being exuded through the CougConnect platform. So
yeah,
excited to work with you, see what the future holds.
Yeah, man. Always good, dude. And like I told you, you guys are the guys we want to work with. Like you align with us perfectly. So we're pumped about it.
Appreciate it. And thanks for having me on the podcast.
Oh yeah, man.
Up a little bit.
Yeah, dude. No, it was cool. It was cool to learn more about your story. I had no idea you played quarterback. I mean, I feel like we just touched your story. Like we'll have to circle back to this. Maybe
we definitely will have to circle back
in a few months, because I feel like we just started to kind of discover Alema's story there. But we'll have to get back to it. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm open to the conversation, and I think that's it's something that needs to be shared, not just my story but other players as well, because I'm not the only story that needs to have visibility,
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, there's so many important stories that we could share, and I think maybe the fans who didn't know you as well now are going to know you really well.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's important for us fans, because sometimes it's just tribalism, royal blue good, any other color bad, green, red, yellow, purple bad. If you leave this color, if you leave the blue to go there, bad person, bad decision, big mistake. And obviously there's a lot more to life than that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah,
So,
I completely agree.
Cool. Well, thanks guys for tuning in, and that was a lot of fun, and we'll have to do some more of this.
Yes, appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tune in to CougConnect.
Yeah, go Cougs.
Awesome.